Fulu, how
Hi.
are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today as my guest. It's been a while since I've seen you. You came out to Boston a few years ago for one of your films, Ayanda, and
hmm
uh, and now you've grown so much. You've done other projects, and there's so much I want to talk to you about today. And I'm just really excited to have this time with you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being here.
No, thank
Um,
you for having me.
yeah. And so, I'll get straight to it because, I know, the time difference. I want to make sure I am mindful of your time. I start all my podcasts with a story. So what story do you have for me today?
Well, it's a story about my childhood and how
hmm
I got the performing arts bug, how this
hmm
all started. So my dad studied music in a time where in South Africa everybody was studying to get out of the struggle, studying to be a nurse or a teacher or a lawyer, something like a public servant. Not necessarily, people were not venturing into music and stuff like that, but nonetheless, he did that. And being his offspring, I was very curious about why he sings, and he was an opera singer, and he furthered his studies. And so I started singing, and I started, entertaining guests who some of them weren't very welcoming of my songs and my little act, but it happened anyway.
hmm
And then in varsity, sorry, in grade 12, which I think you guys call senior, what is it? Your
Yep.
final year of high
Senior.
school?
Senior
hmm
in high school.
So I
Yep.
was getting ready to do varsity, and I applied for medicine because I was so embarrassed of studying musical theater, because where I come
Mm,
from, everybody did was a doctor or an engineer or something like that. Black child growing in a very black province in South Africa. That's what we want to do, help your family out.
hmm
And I ticked the musical theater box in one of the universities, and that was a one envelope that I posted. And so I got
Wow.
I got an audition, and I got accepted. I did that, and that entire year I was studying musical theater, I lied to my family, to my friends, and I told them I was doing a gap year because I was so embarrassed of
Wow.
studying musical theater. I was that embarrassed of it. I told them I'm doing a gap year, and when I'm done playing around, I'll study medicine.
hmm
10 years later, it's my gap years, I guess.
And so how did it transition to where people actually figured out like she's not in a gap year? Like what is she doing now?
I think, thank heavens, after my third year, after I
hmm
graduated varsity, I got a gig. I was doing The Lion King in Hong Kong. So when that
Mm,
happened, I mean, it's a job overseas and it pays really well. So obviously my parents were boasting about it. That's when my grandparents and the friends started catching in, like, okay, she's doing this for real. And then
yeah,
after that, it's just been happening. And I guess
that's
I didn't have to explain
wonderful.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so, how is, what do you think it was about performing and the music aspect that wanted you to like stick with it? Because you had so much going against you in terms of like your family wasn't approving, your community and all that wasn't something that a lot of people were doing. And so, what made you try it and then stick with it? I feel like that's hard to do when not everybody's
Yeah.
embracing you for doing what you're doing.
I think I tried it because my dad secretly and sometimes publicly approved, being
Mm,
that obviously he is an artist himself, and
yeah.
right now he's a professor, so he teaches at an institution. So
Mm,
obviously, like, he gets paid well. He's good. He's doing good for his family. So I got approval from him. So I was like, hey, I can do this, and I'm his offspring. So obviously, the apple didn't fall so far from the tree. It means if he can
yeah.
do it, I can do it too. I've got the gene, so to speak.
Right.
And although it was difficult, what made me stick through it was how much I advanced from my
Mm,
first year. I guess I had to study so much more than everybody else, so as to prove myself. My marks had to reflect that I'm doing this not because I got poor grades in my senior year, but because I actually really love to do it. So I've always been sort of like aimed to be an A student.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
not only theoretically but practically. So I practiced a little longer. I did tap dance classes, and I stayed a little longer in class, and I joined in the other classes. So I really just pushed myself very, very hard to prove myself. And I think
Mm.
not only to the rest of, like, everybody else externally, just to get external validation, but also to prove to myself that I can do this, and this is not only a talent, but it's a passion.
Yeah, so you wanted to prove to them, but also to yourself that
Yeah,
this is you, and it's
yeah,
something that you couldn't help that, right? It sounds like it was just in you,
it
you had to
was.
do it. And so how does that transition into the roles that you have taken throughout your career? I mean, you said you started off in The Lion King, and how has that evolved? Do you are you sort of mindful of the roles that you take that are connected to you as the person, or you just trying a lot of different parts and a lot of different roles to figure out what
Um,
you lean into?
well, I don't have the privilege of being mindful of what roles I choose, because I guess it is my bread and butter. This is not something I do on the side. It's not a side hustle. It is my hustle.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever roles that come by, I've just been so privileged that they've been very different. So they helped me grow as a person, because they expanded my repertoire, in the
Mm.
performing arts. But I've taken everything that came my way. I don't know how it is in America, but in South Africa, the film and television industry is very fast, like, paced, and you might get left behind if you're not famous enough, if they don't like you enough, you don't have the right numbers, you don't have, it's so whatever came my way I took. And fortunately for me, they've been very different characters from when, I mean, I played Nala in The Lion King. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a childhood dream, obviously, for any person that studied musical theater.
Right.
And then coming out of that, I played a brat, like like a spoiled brat
Yeah.
in a television series,
Mm.
in one of the, not at the time, not so big channels in South Africa. Now it's grown pretty big. So, but I've just taken everything, honestly. Maybe
Mm.
sometime when I'm older, I can, pick and choose what scripts I read or what roles to take. But right now, I'm just grasping everything, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and trying it all.
Yeah.
Seriously single.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about how that came to be. That's I saw it on Netflix.
You did?
I did. I saw it on Netflix, and there were so many. It was there was a lot of parts that I laughed at, and there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
parts where I was just like, so is that how women have conversations about relationships and
Mm-hmm.
different things like that? And so tell me a little bit about your experience and taking on that role, and how that has sort of shaped your growth. How's that
Okay.
impacted your growth?
Well, just to, like, rewind back to before Seriously Single, I went for a few months with no work. So it was kind of a
Mm,
frustrating time for me, which I then thought, let me go back to school. Since I only did 3 years, I decided to then further and do my fourth year, which was my degree. And now I'm doing my postgraduate, I'm doing my master's. Anyway,
mm,
nonetheless, so when that came by, like I said, in South Africa, I just took it and I was like, I'm just going to go audition. There was a long queue of girls,
mm.
girls that are very famous and well known in the country. So I thought, hey, listen, if I get an audience today just to perform, hey, that's great. Because I read the script and I saw this is very different from anything I've done before, ever. And this is very parallel from just me, Fulu, as a person. Completely
Mhm.
different. And I played, and then I got a call back, and I was like, okay, well, they're trying to appease me. That's great. And then I played again, and I was much more comfortable, I guess. Because I trusted that, hey, if they, a callback, I know for performers, a callback is always a good validation. Like, I must
Mhm.
have done something right. So I went in there with um, a level of confidence that I didn't have, obviously, before. And I settled into the character, and I did all that, and I could tell they really, really, really liked me.
Mm.
And then I got it. But I must say, when I got the role, I was nervous. I was nervous about playing somebody like her, because I had to play drunk. I've never
Mhm.
played drunk before, ever, ever in my life. Um, and I had to be bubbly and all this. And my character, I guess, cheerful, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of laid back. But that's the beauty of acting. I'm just explaining it's still very difficult for me,
Yeah.
to execute something that it's not a lived experience of mine. Sometimes you have to draw
Mm-hmm.
it in from reality. And if the character is very far from you, basically you're just playing pretend the whole entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it was nerve wracking. It looked very fun on screen, and I'm glad that it did. But the process of rehearsals and shooting, and just to be honest with you, it took a lot out of me. Funny
Mm.
enough, I thought
Yeah.
the dramatic roles, the ayandas and the still breathings and all the other dramatic roles that I've played
Yeah.
but this was more exhausting. This was more challenging. I felt unsatisfied with my own performances, where the director would ask me, do you need another one, do you need another take? I'd just be like, and she'd be like, just let it go, Fulu. I mean, it was good enough, just let it go, because I
Yeah.
just needed one more take. And anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, and so that's interesting that it's so far from who you are. Because to me, you sold that character, and it was you were great in the film. I'm interested to kind of know. There was a line where you and your friend were sitting on the couch, and you talked about wanting more than just surface stuff. Like I don't want to be
Mm,
single. You got to the
mm,
point in the movie where you admitted to yourself and to your friend, like, the single life is not for you. And
mm,
I thought that was an interesting moment, particularly sort of the life that your friend was leading, up into
mm-hmm,
that point, and how you were constantly trying to find love in seemingly the wrong places. This desire to be loved, to love and be loved.
mm,
What was that moment like for you? Were you able to connect with the character in that way, that
of
idea
course.
to love and to be loved is a
Yeah,
priority in the human experience?
of course. I that was the one part I think you could see the sincerity and the reality of she's doing all this because of that need for affection and just also companionship, Love,
Mm-hmm.
you can get it from your mama, you can get it from your siblings, but there's just that need for companionship. And I've had that before. So that was good for me. That was one of the good days that I had, because I connected with what she was going through. And I mean, just also being in my early 20s and trying to figure myself out in this world, and also trying to find love, man. That's a real thing, hey? Like, that's
Yeah,
no joke. Like, that's
it
real
is.
stuff. And finding it in the wrong places and realizing it wasn't really love, it was, surface stuff. And I mean, yeah, like going through the most, I can say that and I'm
Yes.
laughing, but like it was like
Yes.
endless tears, and like calling my mama and my dad, and just I was down and out, like, because I'm a Virgo, so like I'm in my feelings most of the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, like when like this, that was real for me, like that struggle
I
was
felt
real.
it. I felt it. I definitely felt it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
so
mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead.
But I'm just saying now, fast forward to, I mean, I'm married now, it's been 2 years. And just
Mm-hmm.
how that happened was very different from the formula I was using before. Very similar to Dineo, the character I play in Seriously Single, where it was just, you like him, let's do it, let's date. And if I love him, then let's get married. When I met my husband, I met him I want to say 8 years ago, but I met him and he was just one of those guys on set. And I was not looking for, because he was not my type. I was like, no.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
swipe left or right, whatever that is. And I was just like,
Yeah.
no. But he told me, he's like, I will marry you. I'm like, ew, that is so forward. And I remember telling my girlfriends, like, that guy is so dodge. But he just stayed on my contact list. He was just that friend would meet at like, industry functions, and he was just there. And one day, fast forward however years later, I took him up on a coffee and we spoke, and I was like, hey, he's a great guy. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
conversation is great, his morals, his family, his values. So my formula was different, because we didn't meet at the club, or we didn't meet in high school.
Mm.
He wasn't my high school sweetheart or my varsity mate or whatever. It just
Mm-hmm.
came from talking and realizing that we share the same values and the same passion and love. And and from that, I believe love was a byproduct.
Mm.
So that was my formula, and it worked
Yeah.
for me. So just having the same vibe, and I just admired how he was with his friends and with his parents and with his family. It's just beautiful, and that love just grew. So now it's not just I'm with you because I love you, because some days I don't really want to tap into that love area. I hate you. So I'm not going
Yeah,
to stay because of some love moment I had a few years ago. I'm staying because you're the real deal. I hate
yeah.
you, but nothing against you. It doesn't take away that you're a kind person. It doesn't take away from your morals and your values and everything else. So my formula was different.
Yeah, I love that. And so when we talk about building community, um you've been able to play different roles, and I'm sure in this past role there have been, fans, whether it be on social media or people you walk by, it connects to that character. And I feel like as creators, we build community in different ways. We build community through
Mm-hmm.
fans, we build community, through people who connect to our roles because they see themselves in that character. Has there been, any experiences that you've had where, a fan that's maybe seen the movie has said, "Oh my God, I went through such and such," or she is really so much like me, or how has that been for you, whether it be in person or online?
Oh, definitely. Especially, I mean, with Seriously Single now, currently, I've had like DMs, like numerous DMs, and I'm not talking just South Africa, I'm talking Colombia, Ecuador, like
Mm,
Brazil, like people from overseas saying, "Hey, I just, I don't know if you're going to see this, but that movie was very fun and all that, but I am Dineo." Or I get people saying, "I am Noni," I
mm,
realized, and the ending of it was just, oh my goodness, I realized that I was seeking for love at the wrong places, da 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 da. So although in my mind this was a romantic comedy, like
yeah.
it was supposed to make you laugh, it's like a girls' night out, but it's it still hit home for a lot of people, and that's the beauty of art, and that's the beauty about what I do. No matter how light I think something is, um,
Mm,
I'm playing a bigger role in people's lives, and that was a good moment for me because I just thought, hey, I did a rom-com. I've never done a rom-com before. This is fun. But
yeah.
another time it was proved to me that no, you didn't. You created a work of art that speaks to people in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that for me was such a beautiful moment.
That's
Beautiful
special.
moments. It's still continuing even now. I still get messages about how people related to what I did, and that's the best. That's the best feeling.
Yeah, that's special. And I also think, particularly around this time, we need to laugh, right? We need to
For sure.
smile.
Yeah.
How has sort of the pandemic and sort of this the Black Lives Matter movement, how has that impacted you? Is it really prevalent in South Africa, or is it a little bit
Mm,
different? Are you guys kind of watching from
mm.
the outside looking in, or it's still, you guys still have a lot of connection to the movement in America, as well as South Africa?
Oh man. I mean, oof, I don't know where to start. First of all, the pandemic hit, right? And I mean,
Mm,
everybody felt that. Now we're stuck in our homes, having to, some of us work from home, some of us actually not even work. And then in the midst of you being, caged in your own spaces, you
mm-hmm,
you open Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and you see stuff that's happening in America to our brothers and sisters.
mm-hmm,
And that for me was the most horrible. I tapped out of Instagram for I think a month and a half after, I think the last straw was Mr. Floyd.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
couldn't watch the video. I saw the pictures and I saw a little bit of it, and I switched off and I decided I'm out. I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out. This is it. And I cried. I boohooed. Like I cried. I cried. I cried. And I know I'm not the only person. It's not we're not it's not I think also it was just how we had just celebrated Africa Day, I think a few days before. It was Africa
Mm-hmm.
Day. So I went on, I posted my Africa Day pictures, and I was proudly wearing my traditional garments and black. I'm black and I'm proud of it. And then a few days later, these things are happening to my black brothers and sisters in
Mm,
another country. And I'm just like, what in the world is happening? So I'm
mm-hmm.
celebrating my blackness against a backdrop of people struggling to even be proud of who they are, because there's a constant reminder that you are inferior,
Yes.
you're less than. Oh, that was a difficult time for me. I haven't recovered. I don't think anybody has. But just so you know, people in South Africa, they felt that, especially black people that I know, we felt that, and it was hard. It was real. And now arts can be a form of escapism, which is true. We get that. We know that. But then there's art that is very informative, and art that brings awareness, or highlights something, whether it is political art, or I don't know, a struggle piece or anything like that. And in a way, although you're not escaping from it, but it heals you in some weird way. It's healing. If you see, paintings of George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery, or or whoever died in our country too, it's just like, somebody's trying to paint a good light, somebody's trying to bring light to this. And even if it's in the midst of a backdrop of racism and white supremacy and equality and all this, but it plays a big role. And I know you can relate. But when this came out, I know the rest of the cast, I know I speak for everybody, we didn't expect for Seriously Single to come out this year, because it was supposed to be released on circuit, on cinemas. And now the producers told us, hey, it's going to be released on Netflix. We're like, oh, that's great. I was a bit disappointed, because I always like a cinema release. I always like to see myself on the big screen and the red carpet and all that. And this happened, and I was like, oh my goodness, Netflix there's over 190 countries, and they say 183 million subscribers. I was just like, okay, so a lot of people are going to be seeing my face. That's great. Then when we started watching it, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is fun, this is great. Then all the response from that, and the reactions from people not only in South Africa but abroad, like I mentioned, the response is very good. And I'm glad that people were able to forget just a little bit about what's happening in the world. And I mean, I must say, we did get a few negative reviews. I mean, nothing compared to the positives, but just the negatives about how we're poorly representing Black people, and in this time of of the Black Lives Matter movement, we shouldn't be wearing wigs, and we shouldn't be promoting drunkenness and just girls that are loose. We're trying to paint a good picture. I'm like, we're not trying to paint a good picture. We're painting a picture, a real picture. It's just. It is what it is. Like, this is the reality. Yes, some girls in South Africa, we wear wigs. It's not a wumba way in South Africa. Like, we live our lives, we get down, and it's fun. So that was just a few negative remarks, but for the most part, it's been good. It's been good.
And so what do you think from your perspective, and understanding the importance of the arts, which you so eloquently brought up? What do you think people can do in the community to help promote change? Because I feel like a lot of us who are impacted by the pandemic, or impacted by Black Lives Matter movement, or impacted by political unrest, there's always this question of, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I say? How can I help? What do you think folks can do, just from your perspective, that can help promote change during these times?
I think people are already doing it. I think these Instagram live videos and live chats, I mean, I know that I have been healed from many of them. I subscribe to a lot of advocates for Black Lives Matter, the movement. And I think people already, if I'm finding solace and healing from just watching an Instagram live video or watching a YouTube video, I think we're already doing it. I think most of us, we just need to join in. Like me, I need to be more open about stuff like that. It's just sometimes it's hard for me to express myself, my own personal views, because it's just something that I don't like doing, because opinions change. And what I'm saying to you now might change a year later, and I don't want this to be archived somewhere to be brought back to light once my opinion has changed, because we evolve as people. But Yeah, I mean, you don't need to have a lot of money and write a script and get a producer to do it. I mean, that would be great. But I've been, watching a lot of videos from people that have helped me, just talking about, um, the struggle, or talking about this is
Mm,
what we need to do, or talking about, guys, just self-care Sunday, just talking about taking care of yourself, talking about, speaking positively, and how we shouldn't reciprocate the hate. Because it's very
mm-hmm.
easy to feel hate in my heart. It is very easy. But if somebody is speaking positive and light and love and peace and light, and that's beautiful.
Mm,
I mean, I'll mention a few people that you might know. I mean, Amanda Seals, I
yeah.
love her. I love Amanda
Mm-hmm.
Seals. I love that she's bold and she stands up for her people. She advocates for what she believes in. I love people um, like artists that are not afraid to show, like Kerry Washington, and that are not afraid
Mm,
to. Because some people in South Africa, I will say in South Africa, it is very hard for artists, musicians, and actors to take a political stance publicly, because
mm,
sometimes it does affect work opportunities.
mm-hmm.
It does
Mm-hmm.
affect it. So sometimes it's good to separate yourself from that. And
Yeah.
I've noticed
Yeah.
my peers doing that, and people that I respect do that. So we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Mm,
But it's nice to see and hear from people abroad that are bold in what they believe in, which makes me have courage that whatever injustice happens around me in South
mm-hmm.
Africa, I can be vocal about it. I can say
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
as a,
Yeah. And
excuse me, as an artist, because
mm-hmm.
people know me already. So if I say something is wrong, and if I express my pain or my hurt for something, then I that is influencing people, and in a good way, for
No,
change.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Share
So
your voice. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I definitely had a lot of courage.
And so what new projects are you working on, or are you planning to work on in the future? Because I know things kind of have slowed down because of the pandemic, but were there some things in the works that we could be looking forward to see your talent in?
Well, yeah, I'm in a show called Still Breathing,
Mm,
where I play a mom of two and a wife. So
mm.
that's very different from, like other characters that I did. So I get to
Yeah.
display my range, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'm venturing into docus. I'm getting the courage to do what I love, my passion for where I come from, my passion for my culture and my tradition and my
Mm,
spirituality. And the only thing that comes to me right now that has been speaking to me was doing something like a documentary. It's very premature to say now, but I don't want to
mm.
say too much, because they say, show them and not announce things, just show it. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm working on right now, and it's a passion project, and I can't wait. I'm happy about it. While I'm still
Mm,
studying, simultaneously.
mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I this lockdown quarantine time this year has really given me time
Reflect.
to put yeah, and to put everything into perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
Without even wanting to, I was forced into it. I was forced to go Fulu. You can't just wait for
Mm-hmm.
jobs to come. You need to create your own thing. So I was forced into that environment. So
Yeah.
in a way, I thank whatever's happening this year, because it allowed me to align my bigger purpose, not just a vessel to tell other people's stories, but a vessel
Mm-hmm.
to tell stories that I want to tell. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I can really, really connect to that, because I feel like I feel the same way. I think it was, this pandemic has been a gift and a curse in a lot of ways, but leaning more towards the gift. Obviously,
Mm,
the health and the political unrest is something that nobody wants to experience. But I think
mhm.
because of that, I've been able to reconnect with my own abilities and my own wants and desires that maybe I was
Yes.
distracted from earlier, the day to day, going
Yeah.
back and forth to work and kids and friends and
Mm,
family, like everything is like this, we're everything
yeah.
was moving so fast. And then when the
Yeah.
pandemic hit, everything had to slow down, and you actually had to take a moment to, what am I doing? Like, what, or the bigger question is, what am I not doing? You know, what am I not doing? Yeah. And I think that this has been a time where I've been able to rediscover myself and my abilities, and really hold myself accountable to what I'm not doing. And so, you know, this podcast really came up from that. You know, you know, when we met, it was, you know, from an event that I was doing to celebrate filmmakers and artists and actors, you know, in Boston. And I really enjoyed creating platforms for other people to share their voice and their gifts. And so this podcast is just another iteration of that. But
totally,
I probably wouldn't have stumbled upon this thought or idea had the pandemic not happened, because I was distracted with all these other things, right?
yeah.
And so this was
And the
birthed
universe
from,
already showed you that that's a passion of yours, that it already
yes.
showed you that you love to do this, but because of all the other distractions, like you said, it was like, that was just the one thing that happened that one time, and I do that sometimes, I do that every now and then. But no, this, your
Yes, yeah,
purpose, one of
absolutely
them at
right.
least. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, I'm grateful. I have so much gratitude and empathy for the challenges and the suffering that people are going
For
through in the
sure.
world, but
Yeah.
also a lot of gratitude for what I've been able to accomplish and understand and learn about myself and other people. You know, like you said, everyone is sort of sharing their voice. And I feel like there's this level of transparency that people are having that maybe they weren't having before, that I'm able to be like, oh, so that's how this person really is feeling. This is what this person is really going through. This is the challenges. And I think for a lot of us who have, whether it be on social media, on television, or film, we've been able to open up in ways that I think a lot of us as Black people haven't in the past. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it all.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Me
here
too,
for it
man.
all.
Same all
Yeah.
over the world. Same.
Yes, yes. Well, Fulu, it was so nice to chat with you today. I'm so proud to know you, and I'm going to continue to celebrate you. We don't hear this enough from each other. I just want to let you know that I love you. I see you. Your work matters, and you matter. And I'm so looking forward to the next chapter and the next project you have going on. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Thank you so
Yes.
much. I love you right back. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Wow, that was beautiful to hear. Actually, yeah, people don't say that enough. People
Yes.
don't say that
Yes.
enough. And thank you.
No.
Those words, I felt that. And
Yes.
this platform and this, what you're doing, it's amazing. Just keep
Thank
doing
you.
it, because
All
you
right.
already have it in you. I was actually
Yes.
very happy to hear from you. I was like, oh, Jane, let's do this, you know? You already,
Yeah.
because you're very warm and sincere, and you have a way with people. And if this is your gift, I mean, maybe it's just the beginning. We never know where
Yeah.
this will take you. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So let's
Absolutely.
just ride this wave, man.
We
Let's just
gonna we
ride
gonna
this
ride it.
wave.
We gonna ride it. And thank you so much for being a part of the journey. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All
All the
right.
best, hey?
Yes. To same to you. You have a great rest of your day. All right.
You too.
All right.